The crystal chamber floated in the darkness of space, its walls glowing with soft blue light. Inside, thousands of alien beings sat in perfect circles around a central platform. This was the Galactic Council, the most powerful organization in the known universe. Today, they had gathered to make a decision about a small blue planet called Earth. Elder Zindar stepped onto the platform. His tall gray body moved with the confidence of someone who had lived for 800 years. His large black eyes scanned the crowd as he activated the holographic display. A three-dimensional image of Earth appeared above his head, slowly rotating to show its oceans and continents. Council members, Zindar began, his voice echoing through the chamber. We have completed our study of this world. The inhabitants call it Earth. They are a primitive species that has barely learned to leave their own planet. The image changed to show human cities, their buildings reaching toward the sky. Then it showed human vehicles moving on roads and finally, primitive rockets launching into space. As you can see, Zindar continued, these creatures have developed basic technology. They can split atoms and build simple computers. However, they remain trapped on their world. Their fastest ships use chemical fuel and take months to reach their own moon. A member of the council stood up. This was Velthak, commander of the Third Fleet. His species looked like giant insects with 4 arms and compound eyes. Elder Zindar, what threat do they pose to the council? Zindar touched a control and the display changed again. Now it showed humans fighting wars, polluting their oceans and cutting down forests. They are violent and destructive. They fight each other constantly and damage their own planet. If left alone, they will either destroy themselves or eventually develop space travel and spread their violence to other worlds. Then we follow standard protocol, said another council member. Pacification and integration on Earth. Hana Kim sat in front of her computer screen at the radio telescope facility in South Korea. She had been working the night shift for 3 years, listening to signals from space. Most nights she heard nothing but the background noise of the universe. Tonight was different. Her equipment had detected something strange. The signals were too organized to be natural, but they didn't match any known human transmissions. She adjusted her equipment and listened more carefully. The patterns were complex, almost like a language. Hana grabbed her phone and called her friend Jinsu Park, who worked for the military's Space Defense Initiative. Even though it was 3 in the morning, Jinsu answered on the second ring. Hana? What's wrong? I'm picking up something weird, she said, her eyes still focused on her computer screen. These signals aren't from Earth and they're definitely not natural. Are you sure? I've been doing this for years, Jinsu. This is artificial. Someone out there is talking. Meanwhile, in her laboratory across the city, Minji Lee was having her own breakthrough. She had been working on an experimental engine design that used quantum mechanics to bend space. According to most scientists, her ideas were impossible. Tonight, her latest test had created something that shouldn't exist, a tiny hole in space itself. She stared at the readings on her instruments. The hole had lasted only a few seconds, but it had definitely been there. If she could make it bigger and more stable, it might allow travel across vast distances instantly. Back in the council chamber, the vote was proceeding exactly as Elder Zindar had expected. One by one, each member of the council voted to authorize Pacification Protocol 7. This was the standard procedure for dealing with primitive worlds. First, they would send ships to demonstrate their power. Then they would demand surrender. Finally, they would integrate the planet into the Galactic Council as a minor member world. The final vote was 847 to 0. No one voted against the invasion of Earth. Commander Velthak, Elder Zindar, announced, You will lead the Third Fleet to Earth. Use standard intimidation tactics. These primitives should surrender within days once they see our technology. Velthak bowed his insect-like head. It will be done, Elder. How much resistance do you expect? None, Zindar replied. Their most advanced weapons are nuclear missiles that move slower than our supply ships. Their space program consists of metal tubes filled with explosive chemicals. They cannot even leave their own solar system. The council members began to leave the chamber, already thinking about other matters. The conquest of Earth was just routine business, no different from the hundreds of other primitive worlds they had integrated over the centuries. But Hana Kim was still at her telescope, and she was learning more about the signals every minute. She had managed to identify patterns that repeated. Some signals seemed to be coordinates, others looked like technical specifications. She was beginning to think these weren't just random transmissions. Someone was organizing something big. She called Jinsu again. "You need to get down here. I think someone is planning to visit us." "What do you mean?" "These signals include star charts and what look like ship movements. Either someone is planning a very long trip, or they are already on their way." Jinsu knew Hana well enough to trust her judgment. "I'll be there in an hour. Don't tell anyone else about this yet." As Jinsu drove through the empty streets toward the telescope facility, he thought about the implications. If Hana was right, humanity was about to make first contact with an alien civilization, but something about her tone suggested this might not be a friendly visit. At the same time, 3 days' travel from Earth, Commander Velthak's fleet was already moving. The third fleet consisted of 200 ships, each one larger than anything humans had ever built. Their hulls were made of materials stronger than any Earth metal, and their weapons could destroy cities from orbit. Velthak reviewed the battle plan as his ships approached the solar system. First, they would position themselves around Earth to show their power. Then they would broadcast a surrender demand in the local language. The humans would see that resistance was impossible and give up immediately. He expected the entire operation to be finished within a week. But as his ships entered the outer edge of the solar system, Velthak's sensors detected something unexpected. The space around Earth wasn't empty. There were objects moving between the planets, too large to be natural asteroids but too small to be planets. "Scan those objects," he ordered his science officer. "Sir, they appear to be artificial structures, but according to our intelligence, this species cannot build anything in space larger than small stations." Velthak looked at the data again. Either their intelligence was wrong, or the humans had been hiding their true capabilities. On Earth, Hana had just made another discovery. The alien signals had stopped. The space around her planet had gone completely quiet. "They're here," she told Jinsu. The invasion of Earth was about to begin. Commander Velthak stared at the display screen showing Earth's solar system. His compound eyes could process multiple images at once, but what he was seeing didn't make sense. The space between Earth and its moon was filled with structures that shouldn't exist. Science Officer Kralvin, "Explain these readings," Velthak commanded. The smaller alien checked his instruments again. "Sir, I'm detecting at least 40 large structures in Earth's orbit. They're made of metal and appear to be operational. But our intelligence report said this species could barely reach their own moon." Velthak felt the first touch of doubt. In 300 years of conquest, primitive species had never surprised him. They always followed the same pattern: crude rockets, basic weapons, and complete helplessness when faced with Galactic Council technology. On Earth, Hana Kim was working faster than she ever had in her life. Her radio telescope was now connected to a network of similar devices around the planet. She had contacted colleagues in 12 countries, and they were all seeing the same thing. Ships were appearing at the edge of the solar system. "Jinsu, you need to see this," she called to her friend, who was standing behind her watching the data scroll across her screen. Jinsu Park looked at the numbers. As a military strategist, he understood what they meant.
"How many ships?"
"At least 200. Maybe more. They're big, Jinsu. Really big." Jinsu pulled out his secure phone and made a call.
"General, this is Major Park. We have a situation."
"I need to speak with Admiral Kang immediately." While Jinsu made his call, Hana continued to monitor the alien fleet. The ships were moving slowly, taking positions around Earth. It looked like they were surrounding the planet. But Hana noticed something else. The ships were following predictable paths, as if they were following some kind of standard procedure. She began to record everything, looking for patterns. 20 minutes later, Jinsu returned. "The Admiral is on his way. He's bringing some people you need to meet." "What kind of people?" "The kind who have been expecting this day for a long time." Across the city, Minji Lee was still in her laboratory, unaware of what was happening in space above her. She had spent the entire night working on her quantum engine, trying to understand what had happened during her test. The brief hole in space had given her new ideas about how reality worked. She was so focused on her calculations that she almost missed the emergency broadcast that appeared on every screen in the building. The government was asking all scientists to report to emergency stations. Something about a national security situation. Minji grabbed her research notes and headed for the door. As she drove toward the government facility, she wondered if her quantum experiment had somehow caused a problem. But when she arrived, she found scientists from every field being brought together. Admiral Kang was a small, quiet man who had spent 40 years in the space program. When Hana met him, she was surprised by how calm he seemed. "Ms. Kim," he said, "show me what you found." Hana displayed her data on the main screen. 212 ships, all positioning themselves around Earth. They're using formation patterns that suggest military organization. Admiral Kang nodded. "They're following Pacification Protocol 7. How do you know that?" The Admiral looked at Jinsu, who nodded. "Ms. Kim, what I'm about to tell you is classified at the highest level. We've known about the Galactic Council for 30 years. Hana felt her world shift. "What?" "In 1995, we intercepted our first alien transmission. Since then, we've been monitoring their communications and learning their languages. We know about their government, their military, and their standard procedures for dealing with primitive worlds." Minji Lee arrived at the facility just as Admiral Kang was explaining the situation to Hana. When she heard about alien ships surrounding Earth, her first thought was about her quantum engine experiment. "Admiral," she interrupted, "I think I might have something that can help." Everyone turned to look at the young physicist. Admiral Kang had heard about her work but hadn't expected to meet her today. "What do you have, Dr. Lee?" "I've been working on quantum space manipulation. Last night I created a stable microwormhole. If I can scale up the technology, we might be able to do things these aliens don't expect." Above Earth, Commander Velthak was preparing to begin standard intimidation procedures. His fleet was in position, and his communications officer was ready to broadcast the surrender demand. "Begin transmission," Velthak ordered. The message went out in what the aliens believed was Earth's primary language. It was a simple demand: surrender immediately or face destruction. The transmission included visual displays of the alien fleet's weapons to show Earth's helplessness. But instead of panic or immediate surrender, something unexpected happened. Hana Kim's radio telescope network picked up the alien transmission and began analyzing it immediately. Within minutes, she had identified the language structure. It was similar to other alien communications she had been studying for hours. More surprising to the aliens, Earth responded. The response came not from governments or military leaders, but from a radio telescope facility in South Korea. The message was transmitted in perfect galactic standard, the language used by the Council for official communications. "Greetings to the Galactic Council fleet," the message began. "This is Dr. Hana Kim speaking for Earth. We have been monitoring your approach for the past 18 hours. We have also been studying your communications protocols for several years. We are aware of Pacification Protocol 7 and your intentions regarding our planet." On the command ship, Velthak's communication officer stared at his equipment. "Sir, this is impossible. They're using perfect galactic standard. Our intelligence said they didn't know we existed." The Earth transmission continued. "We understand that you believe Earth to be a primitive world suitable for integration into your council. We respectfully disagree with this assessment. We suggest a different approach." Velthak felt something he hadn't experienced in centuries: confusion. Primitive worlds didn't respond to intimidation with diplomatic messages in perfect galactic standard. "How long have they been monitoring our communications?" he asked his intelligence officer. "Unknown, sir. According to our data, they should not have been capable of detecting our transmissions at all." Hana Kim continued her transmission. "We propose a meeting to discuss the terms of contact between our species. We have representatives prepared to negotiate. However, we should inform you that Earth is not as defenseless as your intelligence suggests." As if to prove this point, something appeared on Velthak's sensors that made him step backward. Objects were materializing around his fleet. Ships were uncloaking themselves, ships that had been invisible until this moment. "Defense systems to full alert," Velthak ordered.
How many ships?
50. No, 70. Sir, they're still appearing. Over 100 ships now. The Earth vessels were smaller than the Council ships, but they were clearly advanced technology. They had appeared from nowhere, suggesting cloaking systems that the Council hadn't detected. Jinsu Park was now at the main command center, coordinating Earth's response. The ships surrounding the alien fleet were part of a defense system that had been built in secret over decades. Mining operations in the asteroid belt had been cover for military construction. "Admiral," Jinsu reported. All defense platforms are active. The quantum drive ships are in position. Admiral Kang looked at Minji Lee. Doctor, are your engines ready for testing? Minji checked her portable control system. The prototype is installed on the lead ship. I can't guarantee it will work, but the theory is sound. Hana Kim sent another message to the alien fleet. Commander Velthak, we know your name and your service record. We know about your victories on 37 other worlds. We also know that those worlds were truly primitive when you arrived. Earth is different. In space above Earth, Velthak realized that everything he had been told about this species was wrong. They had been watching the Council, learning their language, and preparing for this exact moment. For the first time in his long military career, Commander Velthak was facing an enemy that had been preparing for him. The invasion of Earth was not going according to plan. Commander Velthak had conquered 37 worlds. He had faced desperate enemies, advanced weapons, and impossible odds. But he had never faced an enemy that knew everything about him while he knew nothing about them. Sir, his tactical officer reported, the Earthships are maintaining distance, but they have us completely surrounded. Their formations suggest they've studied our standard battle tactics. Velthak looked at the display showing both fleets. The human ships were positioned exactly where they would be most effective against Council formations. It was as if they had read the Galactic Military Academy textbooks. Open a communication channel, he ordered. On Earth, Admiral Kang stood in the command center watching the situation develop. Decades of preparation were finally being put to the test. Next to him, Jinsu Park was coordinating the movements of ships that the aliens still thought were primitive mining vessels. The alien commander wants to talk. Hana Kim reported from her communication station. Put him through, Admiral Kang said. The image of Commander Velthak appeared on the main screen. His insect-like features looked angry and confused. I am Commander Velthak of the Galactic Council Third Fleet, he began. You will surrender immediately and prepare for integration. Your resistance is pointless. Admiral Kang stepped forward. Commander, I am Admiral Kang of Earth Defense. Your invasion is based on outdated intelligence. We suggest you reconsider your approach. Impossible. Our information is accurate. You are a primitive species with basic chemical rockets and nuclear weapons. Jinsu Park smiled. Would you like us to demonstrate why your information is wrong? Without waiting for an answer, Jinsu activated a control panel. In space, what the aliens thought were mining stations began to transform. Massive gun barrels extended from structures that had appeared to be simple asteroid processing facilities. Energy signatures spiked as weapons that were larger than most Council ships powered up. Your mining operations were cover for military installations, Velthak said. Beginning to understand. For 30 years, Admiral Kang confirmed. We've been building a defense network throughout the solar system. What you see as mining ships are actually mobile weapons platforms. Minji Lee was at her own control station, monitoring the quantum engines she had installed on the lead human ships. Admiral, the quantum drives are ready for combat testing. Show them what they're really facing, Doctor. Minji activated her experimental technology. 3 human ships simply vanished from the alien sensors, only to reappear inside the alien formation. The ships had moved through folded space, traveling instantly across distances that should have taken minutes. On Velthak's command ship, alarms began ringing. Sir, 3 enemy ships have appeared within our defensive perimeter. They bypassed our shields completely. Velthak stared at the tactical display. In 300 years of space combat, he had never seen ships teleport. The technology required was far beyond what any council member possessed. How did they do that? His science officer was frantically checking his instruments. Unknown, sir. The energy patterns don't match any known propulsion system. It's as if they folded space itself. Hana Kim sent another transmission to the alien fleet. Commander, the 3 ships inside your formation are equipped with gravitational weapons. Each one can create a small black hole. We suggest you consider our diplomatic offer. The threat was not empty. Each of the 3 human ships was powered by Minji's quantum technology and armed with weapons that manipulated gravity itself. They could literally tear apart the alien ships from the inside, but Admiral Kang had no intention of starting a war. He was demonstrating Earth's capabilities to force negotiations, not to destroy the alien fleet. We don't want to fight, Admiral Kang told Commander Velthak, but we won't be conquered either. Earth proposes a third option. Velthak was beginning to realize that his standard invasion tactics were useless. The humans had superior technology, better intelligence, and they knew his every move before he made it. What do you propose? A meeting. Your ships remain where they are. Our ships do the same. We send representatives to neutral ground and discuss terms. Jinsu Park added, Commander, we know about the 43 other worlds you've conquered using Pacification Protocol 7. We've studied the after-action reports from each battle. We know your ship capabilities, your standard formations, and your preferred tactics. This doesn't have to become a fight you cannot win. The insult was perfectly delivered. Velthak was a proud military officer, but he was not stupid. His fleet was surrounded by enemies who knew his every weakness while he knew none of theirs. But there was still his pride as a council officer to consider. The Galactic Council does not negotiate with primitive species. Minji Lee chose that moment to demonstrate another capability. She activated a quantum field around one of the alien ships. The ship didn't disappear or explode. Instead, it simply stopped existing in normal space. It was still there, but it existed in a different dimension where the alien crew could see everything but touch nothing. Your ship will be returned to normal space in 60 seconds, Minji announced. Consider this a demonstration of our dimensional manipulation technology. On the affected alien ship, the crew watched in horror as their weapons passed through enemy ships without effect. They could see their own fleet, but they could not communicate with it or fire their weapons. They were trapped in a bubble between dimensions. Exactly 60 seconds later, the ship returned to normal space, completely unharmed but thoroughly frightened. How many more demonstrations would you like, Commander? Admiral Kang asked politely. Velthak was no longer thinking about conquest. He was thinking about survival. His fleet was hopelessly outmatched by technology that shouldn't exist. The Council will not accept this situation. Then perhaps it's time for the Council to learn something new, Hana Kim said. We've been monitoring your communications for 30 years. We know the Council hasn't faced a real technological challenge in over 1,000 years. Your civilization has become stagnant. She was right, and Velthak knew it. The Council controlled the galaxy because they were advanced compared to primitive worlds, but they hadn't developed new technology in centuries. They relied on their superiority over species that were thousands of years behind them. Earth was different. Humanity had developed faster than light travel independently. They had created weapons and defenses that were beyond Council understanding. Most importantly, they had done it all while pretending to be primitive. What do you want? Velthak asked. Recognition, Admiral Kang said. A seat on the Galactic Council. Treatment as equals rather than subjects. The Council has procedures for conquering primitive worlds, Jinsu Park interrupted. What procedures do they have for dealing with a species that's more advanced than they are? Velthak had no answer. In all of galactic history, the Council had never encountered a situation like this. Minji Lee was monitoring her quantum engines and making calculations. Admiral, I'm reading massive power signatures from the edge of the solar system. More ships are coming. The reinforcements weren't human. The Council was sending additional fleets to deal with what they still thought was a primitive uprising. How many ships? Admiral Kang asked. At least 500? They'll arrive within 6 hours. Velthak checked his own sensors and confirmed the report. You cannot fight the entire Council Navy. Admiral Kang looked at his staff and smiled. Commander, you still don't understand. We're not planning to fight them. We're planning to convince them. How? Jinsu Park activated another control. Throughout the solar system, thousands of hidden platforms revealed themselves. The space between Earth and Jupiter was filled with defensive installations that had been disguised as natural objects for decades. We're going to show the Council what humans can do when we put our minds to it, Admiral Kang said. The real demonstration was about to begin. The emergency session of the Galactic Council was the largest gathering in 500 years. Elder Zindar stood at the center of the crystal chamber, but his usual confidence was gone. Reports from Commander Velthak had reached the Council 3 hours ago, and nobody could believe what they were hearing. You're telling us, said Council Member Draktar, that a primitive species defeated the Third Fleet without firing a shot? They didn't defeat us, Elder Zindar said, trying to maintain some dignity. Commander Velthak is negotiating a strategic withdrawal. The humans surrounded his entire fleet and demonstrated technology we don't possess, another council member said. That sounds like defeat to me. The council chamber filled with angry voices. For the first time in 1,000 years, a galactic council fleet had been stopped by the species they were trying to conquer. Worse, the humans had done it easily. Above Earth, Commander Velthak was learning more disturbing facts about his enemies. The human ships were not just advanced. They were using technology that violated everything the Council knew about physics. "Sir," his science officer reported, "I've analyzed their quantum engines. They're manipulating space-time itself. The mathematics shouldn't work, but somehow it does." Velthak looked at the readings. The human ships could appear anywhere instantly, phase between dimensions, and create gravitational fields strong enough to tear apart planets. It was technology that was centuries beyond anything the Council possessed. On Earth, Hana Kim was preparing for the most important conversation in human history. The Council had agreed to direct communication with Earth's representatives. For the first time, humans would speak directly to the galaxy's most powerful government. "Are you ready?" Admiral Kang asked her. Hana nodded. She had spent years studying alien languages and cultures. Now she would use that knowledge to save her planet. The communication channel opened and Elder Zindar's image appeared on the screen. His tall gray form looked imposing, but Hana could see fear in his large black eyes. "I am Elder Zindar of the Galactic Council," he began. "You will explain how your species acquired advanced technology." "Good afternoon, Elder Zindar," Hana replied politely. "I am Dr. Hana Kim representing Earth. We developed our technology the same way every species does, through research, experimentation, and a lot of hard work." "Impossible. Our intelligence shows your species discovered space travel only decades ago," Hana smiled. "Your intelligence is based on what we wanted you to see. We've been aware of galactic civilization for 30 years. We've been monitoring your communications, studying your technology, and learning about your government." The council chamber fell silent. The humans had been watching them for decades without being detected. "How?" Elder Zindar demanded. "You sent probe ships to our solar system every few years," Hana explained. "We captured several of them and reverse-engineered your technology. But we didn't stop there. We improved it." Minji Lee stepped forward to join the conversation. "Elder Zindar, I'm Dr. Minji Lee. I lead our quantum research division. Your probe ships used basic faster-than-light drives. We studied them and developed something better. What you call quantum manipulation is impossible," Elder Zindar said. "Only if you limit yourself to three-dimensional thinking," Minji replied. "We learned to work in 11 dimensions. It opens up possibilities you've never considered." On the council ship, Commander Velthak was receiving reports that made the situation even worse. His scanners were detecting thousands of hidden installations throughout Earth's solar system. The humans had been building defenses for decades while pretending to be primitive. "How many defensive platforms?" he asked his tactical officer. "Over 3,000, sir. They're disguised as asteroids, comets, and space debris. The entire solar system is a fortress." Meanwhile, Jinsu Park was coordinating Earth's response to the incoming council reinforcements. 500 ships were approaching the solar system, expecting to face a primitive species with basic weapons. "Minji, are the dimensional shields ready?" he asked. "All installations are equipped with phase generators," Minji confirmed. "We can shift the entire defensive network between dimensions if necessary." Admiral Kang was thinking about the bigger picture. Earth had surprised one council fleet, but defeating 500 ships would require a different approach. "Dr. Kim," he said to Hana, "tell the council about our exploration program." Hana turned back to the communication screen. "Elder Zindar, we should mention that Earth has not been idle during these 30 years. We've been exploring the galaxy." "What do you mean?" "We've visited 47 star systems using our quantum drives. We've made contact with 17 species that are not members of your council. Some of them are quite interested in alternatives to council membership." This was the information that truly frightened Elder Zindar. The council maintained control of the galaxy by being the only organization capable of interstellar travel and communication. If humans could travel instantly between star systems, they could offer the same services to other species. "You're threatening council authority," Elder Zindar said. "We're offering choice," Admiral Kang replied. "The galaxy is big enough for more than one interstellar organization." In the council chamber, panic was beginning to spread. Council member Velkaran stood up to address Elder Zindar. "This species represents a fundamental threat to council supremacy. They must be destroyed immediately." But Elder Zindar was looking at tactical reports from the approaching reinforcement fleet. The human defensive installations weren't just numerous, they were mobile. The asteroid belt was moving to form a defensive wall around Earth. "How are they moving asteroids?" he asked Commander Velthak. "Gravitational manipulation, sir. They can control gravity itself. They're turning the entire solar system into a weapon." The approaching Council reinforcements found themselves facing an impossible situation. The space around Earth was filled with defensive platforms that could appear and disappear at will. Asteroids the size of cities were moving into defensive positions. Most disturbing of all, human ships were simply appearing inside the Council formations without warning. Fleet Admiral Korth, commanding the reinforcements, had never seen anything like it.
How many ships do they have?
"Unknown, sir. They keep appearing from nowhere. Our sensors show 50 ships, then 100, then 200. They're either teleporting or they have cloaking technology beyond our understanding." On Earth, Minji Lee was demonstrating another capability to the Council. She activated a quantum field around one of the approaching Council ships and transported it instantly to Earth orbit. "Your ship is unharmed," she told Fleet Admiral Korth over the communication channel. "We brought it here to make a point. We can move your ships anywhere we want, anytime we want." The transported ship found itself surrounded by human vessels, completely cut off from its fleet. The crew was unharmed but thoroughly frightened. Admiral Kang addressed both Council commanders. "Gentlemen, Earth doesn't want to fight the entire Galactic Council, but we won't be conquered either. We're offering a third option." "What option?" Elder Zindar asked. "Partnership," Hanakim said. "Earth has technologies you need. Our quantum drives, our dimensional manipulation, our gravitational control systems. We're willing to share this technology with the Council. In exchange for what?" "Membership. Not as a subject world, but as an equal partner. A seat on the Council with full voting rights." Jinsu Park added the final element of Earth's offer. "We're also prepared to share our defensive technologies with other Council worlds. Your current enemies won't stand a chance against quantum weapons and dimensional shields." Elder Zindar realized that Earth was offering the Council a chance to become more powerful than ever before, but it would require treating humans as equals instead of subjects. The choice was simple: accept Earth as a partner, or face the possibility of humans creating their own galactic government with superior technology. "The Council will need time to consider your proposal," Elder Zindar said. "Of course," Admiral Kang replied. "Take all the time you need. Your fleets are welcome to remain here as our guests while you decide." It was a polite way of saying that the Council ships were not leaving until Earth received an acceptable answer. The galaxy's balance of power had shifted in a single day, and everyone knew it. 3 days after the first contact, the situation around Earth had become the most closely watched event in galactic history. News of the human technological demonstration had spread to every Council world, and representatives from dozens of species were demanding answers. In the Galactic Council chamber, Elder Zindar faced the largest crisis of his 800-year career. Half the Council wanted to destroy Earth before human technology could spread to other worlds. The other half wanted to negotiate for access to human innovations. "The humans are a threat to everything we've built," Council member Velkaran argued. "If other species gain access to their technology, the Council's authority will collapse." "If we don't gain access to their technology," replied Council member Draktar, "the Council will become irrelevant anyway. These humans can travel anywhere instantly and communicate across the galaxy without delay. They're already offering alternatives to Council membership." Elder Zindar looked at the reports coming from Earth's solar system. The human defenses had grown stronger every day. More installations were appearing, and human ships were now patrolling other star systems, making contact with non-Council species. Above Earth, Admiral Kang was preparing for the next phase of humanity's introduction to galactic politics. A special ship had been constructed specifically for this moment, a vessel that would demonstrate Earth's most advanced technologies to the Council. "The Taguki is ready for departure," Jinsu Park reported. "All systems are functioning perfectly." The Taguki was humanity's masterpiece. It incorporated every breakthrough they had achieved over 30 years of secret research. Quantum drives, dimensional manipulation, gravitational control, and several technologies that were still experimental. "Dr. Lee, are you ready to take our demonstration to the Council?" Admiral Kang asked. Minji Lee nodded from her position at the ship's quantum control station. The dimensional phase drive is calibrated for the journey to the council chambers. We can reach them in less than an hour. Hana Kim was also aboard the Taiguchi, prepared to serve as Earth's primary diplomat. She had spent 3 days studying additional council communications and learning about the political situation in galactic government. "Admiral," she said, "I've identified several council members who might support our proposal. The key is demonstrating that partnership with Earth benefits everyone, not just humans." The Taiguchi departed Earth using technology that amazed even the watching council fleets. The ship didn't accelerate gradually like normal spacecraft. Instead, it simply folded space around itself and stepped sideways through 11 dimensions, emerging near the council chambers 400 light-years away. The journey, that should have taken months in a council ship, was completed in 37 minutes. When the Taiguchi appeared near the council chambers, every sensor in the area detected its arrival. The ship was unlike anything in the council database. Its hull seemed to shift between solid metal and transparent energy, and it registered on sensors in ways that suggested it existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Council Station Control. "This is the Earthship Taiguchi requesting permission to dock," Hana Kim transmitted in perfect galactic standard. The Council Station's docking master was speechless. No ship had ever approached the council chambers without permission, and none had ever arrived from such a distance so quickly. Elder Zindar himself authorized the docking. He needed to see this human technology up close. When the airlock opened, Admiral Kang stepped out first, followed by Hana Kim, Jinsu Park, and Minji Lee. They were the first humans to set foot on a galactic council station, and they carried themselves with the confidence of equals rather than the deference of subjects. "Elder Zindar," Admiral Kang said, bowing slightly in the traditional council greeting. "Thank you for agreeing to meet with us." Elder Zindar studied the humans carefully. They looked fragile compared to most galactic species, but their technology suggested they were anything but weak. "Your ship," he said. "It uses principles we don't understand." Minji Lee stepped forward. "Elder, your species has controlled the galaxy for 1,000 years using the same basic technologies. You haven't needed to innovate because you haven't faced real challenges. Earth developed differently. How differently? We've always faced challenges," Jinsu Park explained. "Limited resources, hostile environments, constant conflicts. These pressures forced us to find creative solutions to impossible problems." Hana Kim activated a portable display that showed human technological development over the past century. "Elder Zindar, in 100 years, humans went from horse-drawn carts to quantum space manipulation. Most species take thousands of years to achieve similar advances. Why? Because we had to," Admiral Kang said simply. "Human civilization developed on a world where survival required constant innovation. We learned to adapt quickly or die." Elder Zindar was beginning to understand. The Council controlled species that had developed on easy worlds with abundant resources. They had never faced the pressures that forced rapid technological advancement. "What are you proposing?" Minji Lee activated another control, and the Taiguchi became visible through the station's viewing ports. The ship began to demonstrate its capabilities, shifting between dimensions, manipulating local gravity, and creating small wormholes in space. "We're proposing that Earth join the Council as a full member," Hana Kim said. "In exchange, we'll share our technologies and help solve problems that have stumped the Council for centuries." "Such as?" Jinsu Park smiled. "The Zirian Rebellion in the Outer Rim. They've been fighting Council forces for 50 years because your ships can't reach their hidden bases. Our quantum drives could end that conflict in days." "The plague affecting the Altarian colonies," Minji Lee added. "Your medical technology can't cure it because it exists partially in another dimension. Our dimensional manipulation could isolate and destroy the disease." "The resource shortages in the Vega sector," Admiral Kang continued. "Your transport ships take months to deliver supplies. Our quantum drives could deliver resources instantly." Elder Zindar realized that the humans weren't just offering to share technology. They were offering to solve every major problem the Council faced. "And in return, we want the galaxy to know that there are alternatives to conquest," Hana Kim said. "The Council has maintained power by being the only option for space travel and communication. We're offering choice. You're threatening our authority." "We're offering to enhance it," Admiral Kang corrected. "A Council equipped with human technology would be more powerful than ever. but it would also be more just. Minji Lee demonstrated another capability. She activated a quantum field that allowed her to communicate instantly with Earth, 400 light-years away. The conversation was in real time with no delay. Elder Zindar, I'm speaking with Dr. Park on Earth right now. She's reporting that 17 non-council species have requested meetings with human representatives. They want to learn about alternatives to council membership. The threat was clear. Earth could create its own galactic organization if the council refused to negotiate. What guarantee do we have that humans won't eventually challenge council authority? Because we don't want to rule the galaxy, Admiral Kang said. We want to improve it. Human culture values cooperation over domination. We're offering partnership, not conquest. Jinsu Park added the final element of Earth's proposal. Elder Zindar, we know about the external threats the Council faces. The machine intelligences beyond the galactic rim, the hostile dimensions that sometimes break through into normal space, the ancient weapons platforms that activate randomly. Our technology could help the Council deal with these challenges. Elder Zindar had not expected the humans to know about the Council's deepest secrets. The external threats were classified information known only to the highest levels of government. How do you know about those threats? We've encountered some of them ourselves, Hana Kim said. Earth isn't the only world humans have visited. We've been exploring dangerous regions of space that Council ships avoid. And we've learned how to fight things that exist outside normal reality, Minji Lee said. Our dimensional technology works against enemies that phase between universes. For the first time in the conversation, Elder Zindar looked hopeful. The Council had struggled with external threats for centuries, always forced to retreat or evacuate worlds when faced with truly alien dangers. You can fight the phase entities? We can do more than fight them, Admiral Kang said. We can prevent them from entering our dimension in the first place. Elder Zindar realized that Earth wasn't just offering to join the Council. They were offering to save it from threats that had seemed impossible to defeat. The decision was becoming clear, but it would require the Council to accept something they had never accepted before, an equal partner instead of a subject species. I will present your proposal to the full Council, Elder Zindar said. Thank you, Hana Kim replied. We hope this is the beginning of a new era for galactic civilization. The vote would determine not just Earth's fate, but the future of the entire galaxy. Jake Morrison sat in the cold metal chair and watched the alien delegates ignore him. The Galactic Council chamber was huge and filled with creatures from 1,000 worlds. They all thought humans were stupid and weak. Jake had been coming to these meetings for 5 years, and every time was the same. The aliens would talk about important things and then tell humans to wait their turn. The Zalarian delegate stood up on his 6 legs and clicked his mandibles. High Counselor Vextar was tall and covered in purple scales that shimmered under the bright lights. He looked at Jake with his big black eyes and made a sound that the translator turned into laughter. The human representative wants advanced shield technology again, Vextar said to the other delegates. Perhaps they should focus on learning to build proper spaceship engines first. Their fastest vessels barely reach 1% of light speed. More laughter filled the chamber. Jake kept his face calm, but inside he was smiling. If only these aliens knew what was really happening in the dark spaces around Earth. If only they could see what Admiral Lisa Carter was building right now, in the cold emptiness beyond Pluto. Far from the council chamber and the mocking aliens, Admiral Carter floated in her command pod deep inside a massive construction site. Around her, millions of human workers and robots carved tunnels through rock and metal. They were not building a space station or a mining facility. They were turning an entire dwarf planet into the most powerful warship the galaxy had ever seen. Carter pressed her hand against the viewing port and looked out at the work crews. Sparks flew from welding torches as they installed the last of the main cannon arrays. The dwarf planet had been called Series 7 when they started 10 years ago. Now it was the Titan-class planetary warship New Earth, home to 50 million humans and enough firepower to destroy entire star systems. Admiral, the final power cores are coming online, said Captain Bill Rogers from his station. He was young but had spent his whole life training for this moment. Like all the workers here, he had been born in one of the secret colonies that existed in the dark between worlds. Carter nodded and activated her communicator. Dr. Stone, What is our status on the main weapon systems? Dr. Richard Stone was floating in the engineering section, surrounded by holographic displays showing power readings and system diagnostics. He had gray hair and tired eyes from working for 30 years on humanity's greatest secret. He was one of the few people old enough to remember when the project began, when Earth first realized the aliens would never accept them as equals. "All systems show green, Admiral," Stone replied. "The quantum fusion reactors are stable and the mass driver cannons are calibrated. We could level a continent from 1,000 light-years away if we wanted to." Stone looked at the readings and felt proud of what humanity had accomplished. Every piece of technology in New Earth had been stolen, reverse-engineered, or improved from alien designs. The Galactic Council had refused to share their knowledge, thinking humans were too primitive to understand it. They were wrong about the understanding part. When the first human diplomat had visited the Council 300 years ago, the aliens had laughed then too. They gave humans a few basic technologies and told them to be grateful. What they did not know is that humans were very good at taking things apart and making them better. Carter moved through the corridors of New Earth and saw the proof of human determination everywhere. Cities existed inside the hollowed-out planetoid, complete with parks and schools and shopping centers. Children played in artificial gravity fields, while their parents worked in factories that could build starships faster than any alien world. The artificial star at the center of New Earth provided power and light to the millions of people who called this place home. It was not just a weapon. It was a complete human civilization, hidden in the darkness where aliens never looked. "Admiral Carter to all department heads," she announced through the ship-wide communication system. "Report to the main briefing room in 1 hour. We have received priority communications from Earth Command." In the briefing room, Carter looked at the faces of her senior officers. These were the men and women who had spent their lives preparing for a war that aliens thought would never come. They knew about the other Titan-class ships being built in secret locations throughout the galaxy. They knew about the hidden human colonies that existed in the space between stars. "The Korthak Empire is mobilizing," Carter announced. "Intelligence. Reports indicate they are preparing for a galaxy-wide conquest. Earth Command believes they will move within the next 6 months." Colonel Janet Walsh, the ship's military commander, leaned forward in her chair. She'd been training human soldiers in secret for 20 years. Her troops were enhanced with alien biotechnology and armed with weapons that combined the best of human engineering with stolen alien designs. "Are we finally going to show ourselves?" Walsh asked. Carter nodded slowly. "The Council of Elders has made their decision. 3 centuries of hiding in the darkness ends now. When the Korthak begin their attack, they will discover that humanity is not the weak species they believe us to be." Dr. Stone pulled up a holographic display showing the positions of human forces throughout the galaxy. Red dots marked the locations of other Titan-class warships. Blue dots showed hidden human bases and manufacturing facilities. Green dots indicated allied species who had been secretly working with humanity. "We have 47 Titan-class vessels, ready for combat," Stone reported. "Each one carries between 20 and 60 million humans. Our manufacturing capability exceeds the combined output of the top 10 alien civilizations." Carter studied the display and felt a mix of pride and sadness. Humanity had been forced to hide their true nature for 3 centuries because aliens could not accept them as equals. Now the galaxy would learn what happened when humans stopped pretending to be weak. Back in the council chamber, Jake Morrison received a coded message on his personal communicator. The time for pretending was almost over. Soon he would stand before these mocking aliens and reveal the truth about humanity's real capabilities. The Galactic Council had made a terrible mistake when they decided humans were not worth their respect. They had given humanity the greatest gift possible: underestimation. While the aliens focused on their own politics and ignored the primitive humans, humanity had been building the most powerful fleet in galactic history. Admiral Carter looked out at the stars from the observation deck of New Earth. Somewhere out there, the Korthak Empire was preparing to conquer the galaxy. They thought it would be easy because they believed the established species were weak and divided. They had no idea that while the galaxy slept, humanity had been preparing for war. The first reports came through the Galactic Communication Network at 0347 Standard Time. The Korthak Empire had launched surprise attacks on 12 major civilizations simultaneously. Their biomechanical warships moved through space like living nightmares, tearing apart everything in their path. Admiral Peter Hayes stood on the bridge of Guardian Prime and watched the emergency transmissions flood in from across the galaxy. His Titan-class warship had been stationed at the edge of known space for 15 years, waiting for this moment. The massive planetoid hung in the darkness between stars, invisible to any sensors the galaxy possessed. "Sir, we are receiving distress calls from the Altarian system," reported Lieutenant Commander Nancy Brown from her communication station. "The Korthak fleet is moving toward Earth." Hayes nodded and activated the ship-wide alert system. Throughout Guardian Prime, 58 million humans began preparing for combat. They had trained for this day their entire lives. Children learned tactical analysis before they learned to read. Adults worked in weapon factories and simulation chambers. Everyone knew their role in humanity's greatest revelation. The Galactic Council's emergency session was chaos. Ambassador Jake Morrison watched alien delegates panic as their homeworlds fell to Korthak forces. Species that had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years were fleeing like scared animals. High Counselor Vextar's purple scales had turned pale gray with fear. "The Korthak bioships are immune to our weapons," he announced to the chamber. "They adapt to any attack within minutes. We need to evacuate the core worlds immediately." Other delegates shouted in their various languages. The mighty galactic civilization that had dismissed humanity was crumbling in hours. Morrison sat quietly and waited for the coded signal from Earth Command. Soon these aliens would learn that they had badly misjudged the human race. Captain Susan Blake checked her fighter systems one final time. She commanded Raptor Squadron, 36 of humanity's most advanced combat pilots. They had been born and raised in the zero-gravity training, facilities hidden throughout the solar system. While alien pilots thought in 2 dimensions, humans had learned to fight in 3. "All Raptors, this is Blake," she transmitted to her squadron. "Today we show the galaxy what human pilots can do. Remember your training and trust your instincts. The enemy thinks space combat is about big ships shooting at each other. We are going to teach them about precision." The Korthak battle fleet approaching Earth was massive. 300 biomechanical warships moved in perfect formation, their living hulls pulsing with dark energy. They had conquered 17 civilizations, using the same tactics, overwhelmed the enemy with superior numbers and adaptive technology. What the Korthak did not expect was Guardian Prime. Admiral Hayes gave the order, and his planet-sized warship decloaked directly in the path of the Korthak fleet. The enemy ship stopped moving as their commanders tried to understand what they were seeing. The largest Korthak vessel was 5 kilometers long. Guardian Prime was over 12,000 kilometers in diameter. "This is Admiral Peter Hayes of the Terran Defense Force," he broadcast on all frequencies. "You have entered human space without permission. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences." The Korthak fleet commander responded with typical arrogance. His bioship's living hull changed color as he spoke, the alien equivalent of showing anger and contempt. "Unknown vessel, you will surrender or be destroyed. No single ship can stand against the might of the Korthak Empire." Hayes smiled and turned to his weapons officer. "Commander Kelly, demonstrate our point defense systems." Tony Mitchell worked frantically in the engineering section of Guardian Prime as the massive weapon arrays came online. The artificial star at the heart of the ship provided more power than most civilizations used in a year. Energy flowed through quantum conduits to cannons that could crack planets in half. The first Korthak attack was standard procedure. They launched 1,000 biomissiles at the human ship, each one designed to adapt to enemy defenses and burrow through armor plating. The living projectiles moved through space like angry wasps. Guardian Prime's point defense grid activated, and the darkness lit up with energy beams. Each human cannon was controlled by artificial intelligence that could track and destroy targets faster than biological minds could process. The biomissiles died by the hundreds as precise laser fire cut them apart. Not a single Korthak weapon reached the human ship. Captain Blake launched from Guardian Prime's massive fighter bays along with 5,000 other human pilots. The Raptor fighters were small and fast, designed to use the three-dimensional nature of space combat that aliens had never mastered. The Korthak had evolved on a water world where combat was mostly horizontal. Their tactics reflected this limitation. They arranged their ships in flat formations and expected enemies to attack from predictable angles. Blake led her squadron in a vertical dive that took the enemy completely by surprise. Human fighters attacked from above and below simultaneously, while the main Korthak fleet was still trying to process Guardian Prime's defensive display. "Target their sensor clusters," Blake ordered her pilots. "These bioships adapt to damage, but they need to see us first." The battle became a masterclass in human tactical thinking. While Korthak commanders tried to adapt their weapons to Guardian Prime's defenses, human fighters systematically destroyed their ability to coordinate attacks. The living warships began to panic as their sensory systems failed. Engineer Mitchell brought the main cannons online, and Admiral Hayes watched with satisfaction as quantum energy beams reached out across space. Each shot was precisely calculated to disable rather than destroy. Humanity wanted prisoners and intelligence, not just victory. The Korthak battle fleet that had conquered 12 civilizations was reduced to helpless debris in less than 2 hours. Their bioships floated in space, alive but crippled, their adaptive systems overwhelmed by human precision and firepower. Throughout the galaxy, species that had fled from Korthak attacks received the battle recordings. They watched in amazement as a single human vessel defeated an entire conquest fleet. The primitive species they had dismissed for centuries had just demonstrated military superiority that surpassed anything in known space. Back in the council chamber, Ambassador Morrison stood up as the final Korthak ship was disabled. The alien delegates stared at him with expressions ranging from shock to terror. The balance of power in the galaxy had just shifted completely. "Honorable delegates," Morrison announced calmly, "humanity would like to request a formal review of our membership status in the Galactic Council. It appears our previous applications may have been based on incomplete information about our capabilities." High Counselor Vextar's legs trembled as he realized the truth. For 3 centuries, the most powerful military force in the galaxy had been sitting quietly in council chambers, asking politely for basic technologies while secretly building weapons that made their own fleets obsolete. The sleeping giant had awakened, and the galaxy would never underestimate humanity again. The emergency session of the Galactic Council was unlike anything in recorded history. Representatives from every major civilization crowded into the chamber, their faces showing fear and confusion. The Korthak attack had shattered their understanding of galactic power, but the human response had destroyed their understanding of reality itself. Ambassador Jake Morrison walked to the center of the chamber and activated the holographic display system. For 3 centuries, he had stood in this same spot asking for basic technologies while aliens laughed at humanity's primitive nature. Today, he would reveal the greatest deception in galactic history. "Honorable delegates," Morrison began, "humanity has been less than completely honest about our capabilities." The massive screens around the chamber came to life, showing images from the battle at Earth. Guardian Prime filled the displays, its planet-sized bulk dwarfing the Korthak fleet. Alien delegates gasped as they watched human fighters move through space in ways that defied everything they knew about combat tactics. High Counselor Vextar stood on his shaking legs and pointed at the screen with one of his clawed hands. "This is impossible. Our scouts have surveyed the human system extensively. There are no structures of this size anywhere near Earth." Morrison smiled and changed the display to show a star map of human space. Red dots appeared throughout the galaxy, each one marking a location where humanity had been secretly building. For centuries, the dots formed a network that stretched from the galactic core to the outer rim. The Zalarian survey ships were looking in the wrong places, Morrison explained. "We have been expanding into the dark spaces between stars where no species bothers to explore. While you focused on habitable worlds and resource-rich systems, humanity claimed the empty void." Admiral Lisa Carter's image appeared on the communication screen as her massive ship New Earth approached the galactic core. The Titan-class warship moved slowly through space, its artificial gravity fields bending light around its enormous hull. Smaller vessels that would normally be considered battleships looked like insects flying around a mountain. "I am Admiral Carter of the Terran Defense Force," she announced to the assembled delegates. "For 300 years, humanity has been preparing for this moment. We knew the galaxy would never accept us as equals, so we decided to become something greater." The chamber erupted in panicked voices as representatives realized the implications. Species that had ruled the galaxy for millennia were suddenly faced with a civilization that had surpassed them while hiding in plain sight. Dr. Richard Stone appeared on another screen, broadcasting from the research facilities deep inside New Earth. Behind him, massive manufacturing complexes stretched into the distance, producing starships at a rate that seemed impossible. "Our quantum assembly systems can construct a heavy cruiser in 6 hours," Stone explained to the stunned delegates. "A battleship takes 2 days. The manufacturing capacity of a single Titan-class vessel exceeds the combined shipbuilding capability of the 10 most advanced galactic civilizations." Stone activated a demonstration that showed the human manufacturing process in action. Raw materials flowed through molecular assemblers that built ships from the atomic level up. The technology was based on alien designs that humanity had reverse-engineered and improved beyond recognition. Commander Rachel Turner piloted her reconnaissance ship through the outer systems, documenting the deployment of additional human forces. The 3rd and 4th Titan-class vessels were moving into position, their massive forms creating gravitational anomalies that could be detected from light years away. "Fortress Sol is taking position at the galactic barrier," Turner reported to Admiral Carter. "Vanguard has moved to secure the trade routes between the inner worlds. Both ships report full combat readiness." Each Titan-class vessel was more than just a warship. They were complete human civilizations, carrying populations that exceeded most alien homeworlds. The ships contained universities, research facilities, manufacturing centers, and military academies. They were humanity's answer to the question of how to survive in a galaxy that refused to accept them. The alien delegates watched in growing horror as more human vessels appeared on the tactical displays. Ships emerged from hidden bases in asteroid fields and nebulae. Battle fleets decloaked from positions they had held for decades. The galaxy was full of human forces that had been invisible